Hey, I'm PewDiePie, and this is what I did last week. The 20th anniversary event started last week, and to be honest, it's kind of underwhelming. For such a big milestone, I would have expected just something a little bit more fun. Of the events that are there, it's just not really anything to hold my attention. Like, the world bosses are, I guess, fine for alts, but I don't really have anything that can use that gear yet, so as nice as it is, it's not really something that I personally am enjoying. Mount Mania is a fun event, especially when you get some of the more rare mounts. I find that a lot of the mounts that I'm getting are just like class mounts and dragon flying mounts, which are annoying. The fashion show and Storytime are both just really pointless. Storytime especially just would have been a lot cooler as maybe a scenario or something. Just anything that involves a little bit more than just AFKing for a few minutes. I know that compared to previous anniversaries, there's definitely more to do, but it just feels like this was touted as this big deal, and it just really doesn't feel that way. The one thing this is good for is nostalgia, which I didn't know I had so much of it attached to Classic. Since I started in BC, I would have assumed more nostalgia would be assigned to that. But I'm finding, especially in the Classic dungeons, I'm just filled with that feeling. For example, I walked into Zul'Farrak, and I actually out loud said, "No way, Zul'Farrak!" Because I remember being like level 40 and walking into this place and doing it over and over and over again. There's like an epic sword, I think, that you could get out of it. And you like combine two swords into one. I don't remember if I got it or not, but I remember farming that a lot. And I remember this was before the pre-made finder. So there's a lot of general chat and trade chat looking for more for like an hour. Or like seeing the original Deadmines, seeing that again was nice. Even the Dragon World bosses, as annoying as some of them are, I did have some nostalgia with those, because again, I remember going to like Duskwood and walking up to that dragon being like, whoa, this is so cool. Also, in Zul'Farrak, I just remembered, when I started this channel, I used to make videos that were just gameplay videos. There wasn't anything to it. It just kind of, I put some music behind some gameplay. And the thought was that I wanted to show people what World of Warcraft was about, so if they wanted to see whether or not to buy it, they could watch videos such as mine and be like, oh, that looks fun or does not. And for whatever reason, I remember Zul'Farrak being the video I really enjoyed making. The downside is that at some point I had done a purge of my earlier videos, and instead of putting them on private, I deleted them. And I'm so sad because I would have loved to have seen those old videos with the Game Cam logo on the bottom, and try to remember what songs I put on these, because I'm sure there was some nostalgia in that as well. But if anything, this anniversary event has really kind of made me think about when I started playing WoW and just really got me feeling nostalgic. It's kind of crazy to think that WoW has been a part of my life for longer than it hasn't at this point. Focusing more on current content, I did some more Mythic Plus. I started the week at 2068 rating, and I'm ending it at 2260, so an increase of 192. I timed an 8 Stone Vault in Mists, and then a 9 Arakara and Siege of Borealis. And then I completed but did not time an 8 Grim Batol, a 9 Necrotic Wake, and a 9 Dawnbreaker. That untimed Dawnbreaker was the first dungeon where we would have timed it if we didn't die so many times. I think we were like 40 seconds over time and we lost like 2 minutes from deaths. And that was the first time that I left the dungeon feeling very annoyed and frustrated and just really not liking that negative 15-second affix that is currently up. It's just really annoying in general, but especially when like you don't time the dungeon specifically because of that, it's very frustrating. I know the fix to that is don't die, but also can we not lose 15 seconds? That would be preferable for me. I'm kind of just staying surprised at how much I'm enjoying doing Mythic Plus. Like, for example, one of the things is that I like seeing my rating go up. Even if it's by a little bit, just seeing it kind of grow and grow and grow is a really nice feeling. But also because this is really the only place I'm going to get gear, and this is the first expansion in a long time that I've actually cared about gearing my character. Having this be a replacement in a way for rating has been a much more enjoyable experience. My initial goal when the season started was to get KSM in the mounts, and I was like, once I get that, I'm not really probably going to do a whole lot. But now that I have that, I want to continue doing that just so I can get more vault options, just so I can get more gear. But also, because I've been doing 9s, 10s are definitely attainable, and at this point, my goal has changed and I kind of do want those portals. And I've got plenty of time to do that, so I definitely think I can and will try to do that to get the portals. Outside of Mythic Plus, I just did my 8 delves for the week, nothing crazy there. I didn't get into any tier 11s or Zekvir again, but I was able to finish off the Delver's Journey for Season 1 progression bar, which is nice. One thing I've noticed in tier 8s is that I'm not taking as much damage anymore. There are still definitely moments where my health just suddenly goes to 20%, but I'm finding more and more I'm able to like watch something on the other monitor and kind of passively click buttons and kill stuff in the tier 8 delves. So that's a good sign that my gear is helping me through that. So I'd like to go into tier 11s again, probably after this week's vault and maybe after this week's raid, and see if there's any improvements to tier 11s, and then start also working on Zekvir. I watched a warrior guide on it, and there's some improvements that I can make to what I was doing before and using Avatar and Bladestorm specifically to better handle Enfeeble. So we'll see how that goes, but definitely on the to-do list for this week or the coming weeks. Speaking of gear, I forgot to talk about that. My warrior started at 620.25 item level and is ending at 2.25 item level higher, so he's ending at 622.5. I replaced my belt with the best in slot belt from Dawnbreaker. Because it didn't cost that much gold, I ended up crafting my best in slot weapon, and then as I could, I just upgraded my gear throughout the week. A few things outside of that, I did Squirt Day on Thursday, just focused on the level 23 to 24 pets that I had to kind of get those capped up at 25. And then the Halloween event started this past week, so I've been doing the Headless Horseman on all of my alts. I'm trying to get the Arfis pet because there is a feat of strength related to that, so hopefully can get that with my 40 plus alt army. And then just really quick on my Hunter, I didn't do any PvP this last week, but he did start the week at a 579.43 item level, and he's ending it at 588.43, so a difference of 9. Just with some of the war crates that I was looting, I had more conquests, more bloody tokens, so I was able to replace some more gear with the Warmongers and the Forge Gladiators pieces. Moving on to the achievements of the week, I started at 41,590, and I'm ending it at 41,885, so a difference of 295 points. I did all the remaining Battle for Azeroth Tour of Duty achievements, which also got me the Conqueror of Azeroth meta achievement. This actually comes with the title as well, so I might use that Conqueror of Azeroth title for some of my alts, because that's kind of cool. I got to Renown 25 with Assembly of the Deeps, so that means I no longer have to do Awakening the Machine, which is nice. With the 20th anniversary, I did a bunch of the achievements there. I did all the stuff for the cool 20 years meta. I did all the world bosses and all the classic dungeons as well. And like I said, with the Halloween event starting, I did the Kick In with the Wick achievement, which is to do Headless Horseman hard mode. And I also did the Trick or Treat buckets in Khazalgar as well as Dragon Isles, since I did not have that one from Dragonflight. For mounts this week, I did buy a few. There was the Frey Feather Hippogriff for 5,000 Time Warp badges. I love hippogriffs, I love the colors on this, I really like this mount. From the cool 20 years meta achievement, I got the Cold Flame Tempest, another mount that I love the colors of. I think it looks great, it reminds me of the Phoenix from the MoP challenge modes. From the Conqueror of Azeroth achievement, I got the Conqueror's Scythe Maw. This kind of reminds me of the main bug villain thing from Men in Black. For getting Renown 18 with Dornogal, I bought the Shale Ramolith for 8,100 Resonance Crystals. And then for 11,300 Resonance Crystals, I bought the Smoldering Cinderbee, which you get from getting Renown 23 with Dornogal. And then last but not least, there's been a lot of talk about expensive mounts this past week, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to spend the money on this, but I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So for 500,000 gold from an NPC in Zuldazar, I bought the Pale Hide Direhorn. I just felt a little bit excluded from the conversation about expensive mounts, so I just really wanted to participate a little bit. Schmin Schmothers news. I watched a bunch of movies this past week, starting with Sinister 2. It's a continuation of the first one, but much worse. I think it has more creepy parts, but the overall story is not great. I watched The Ring, which my entire life have been led to believe it's this incredibly scary and terrifying movie. And it's really not. It has a couple of scary parts, but it's more so just, if you don't know, it's about a VHS tape that once you watch it, you have 7 days until you die. And the movie was mostly just about finding out the lore of this thing. Overall, I think it was pretty good. It kept adding more things to keep me interested. I just wish it was a little bit more scary. After that, I watched The Ring 2, which is just a continuation of the first one. The Ring girl comes back and they're trying to figure out, how to actually stop it. Again, I think it was kind of interesting. It wasn't really that bad. I kind of prefer the first one over this one, but overall, the two movies were pretty good together. After that, I watched Rings, which is a remake or reboot, I don't know which one, and it was just awful. The same premise as The Ring, it's just the main character, Julia, just walks headfirst into every stupid decision possible, and overall, it was just not good. I watched Terrifier 3, which I really enjoyed. It's definitely the best of the three movies. The whole supernatural element of it is a little bit weird to me still. I don't really know how much I like that, but I think it was a great continuation of the first and especially the second movie. I like the continued elements of comedy, and there were a couple scenes specifically when Art is like slapping a specific person in the back of the head twice. I actually laughed out loud. It was so funny. The opening scene was definitely a little bit harrowing, and I think the shower scene is definitely the gruesome part of this movie. But in terms of just the brutality of it, I think I would still rank the second movie first, and then the third one, and then the first one. And then lastly, I watched Longlegs. It's about an FBI agent who's trying to uncover clues about a serial killer, and there's stuff related to the occult. And I don't know why, I kept holding out hope that it would eventually get good, and it just didn't. It had an interesting hook, I guess, but it just never really got good, and just, I guess the ending was okay, yeah, I guess. So I'll probably continue watching some spooky stuff this week, and then probably this weekend I'll start heading into Christmas movies, because it's the most wonderful time of the year. But that is it for me. That's everything that I wanted to talk about and what happened to me this past week. Let me know what's going on in your life. How was your vault? How was your week? What are you doing in game and how are you liking it? Are you playing something else? Did you watch anything good or bad this past week? Anything and everything, I would love to hear about it. If you are already subscribed to this channel, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. And if you're not subscribed, if you could at least consider it, if you like this video or any of my others, I would really, really appreciate it. Have yourselves a fantastic week. I will talk at you next week. Love you lots.